Hi, I'm Hallie, and I want to welcome you to the Odd Life Podcast. That's spelled AWED, which stands for Awake, Well, and Empowered. In this space, you will hear inspirational stories, candid and heartfelt conversations, as well as advice from experts, all with the intention of helping women like you live odd AF. Because I believe the more of us that live awake, well, and empowered, the better this world will be. So thank you for being here and welcome to your odd life. Hey, you guys, welcome to the podcast. I am so thrilled. I get to have a young, beautiful, talented, strong, empowered young woman on the podcast today with you. And her name is Sydney Schneider. She is a friend of my daughter's. I met her because of my daughter's shared experience in college. They both were athletes in college, both part of the same media club. And I've watched this young woman blossom in the last 4 or 5 years since I've known of her. And I just cannot wait for you to hear her story. She is a photographer for MLB, for the NFL. We're going to get to all the things she's part of and what she does. But this young woman is 24 years old and is doing amazing things in the world. And it wasn't something that was handed to her. She worked really hard for this. She's gone through a lot of things. And I just love her story. And I couldn't wait to have her on the podcast. I think she's an amazing inspiration for young girls. And I think this young woman is going to be well known in sports photography for many, many years to come. She's just a delight. I can't wait for you to meet her. So here's my conversation with photographer Sydney Schneider. Welcome, Sydney, to the podcast. I am so excited you're here. This is so fun. I finally get you to be on here and hang with me for a little bit. I want everyone to know who you are. So give us a quick little synopsis of who Sydney Schneider is.
Sure. My name is Sydney. I'm 24. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I graduated college in 2021. Went to University of Nebraska, Omaha. I now live in Kansas City. I work for Major League Baseball, the Chiefs. I have my own photography business. I love all things sports. I swam in college. I've always been an athlete. There's a really brief couple of things that I guess would describe myself.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you all how I know Sydney is that she went to school with my daughter. And Avery's been on the podcast. I think she was on episode 10, if I remember correctly. But Avery and Sydney were in a lot of classes together because they both were in media communications. And I got to tell you the story. I don't know how I saw you. There was something about you that I think I saw a picture, either Avery had shared something, and I knew instantly that the two of you were going to connect and be friends. Yep. I'm like, I just knew it. I go, that girl, I know where our family's supposed to know her. I don't know what it is. And so in one of your classes, Avery mentioned your name. And I'm like, I know that girl. I know that's the one. And so sure enough, it was you. Yeah. I just love that it actually worked out. And I know. So basically you can thank me for manifesting your guys' relationship.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I love everything about how you guys met and what you've done together. And just to give another little more background, they had communications classes together. Their worlds kept colliding with sports and their circles got closer. They were connected through their sports, but also through their major, and just they kept circling each other. And tell me about how you guys actually started working together more and becoming more in each other's lives, because I think that was something about maybe where it sparked a little bit more of what you decided to do. So tell me a little about it, and we'll get into the sports part in a second. Okay. But tell me a little bit about how you guys connected and started working together in the media communications world at school.
I was actually on a podcast with Avery and Anna. And we try to talk about like how it all started, but there's little parts I don't remember. We all disagree on who talked to who first. But how I remember is Anna wanted me to come in for an interview at the Omaha Sports Commission to do photos for them. This was the summer going into my senior year, I believe, or like the fall time. And I literally came in with like a printed resume. I was wearing like a blazer. I had never met Anna before. She had messaged me on Instagram, told me to text her. She's like, we need a photographer. I'm like, okay. So I do this little interview. I meet Anna for the first time, end up taking some photos, and then she tells me about women in media. And I believe before I had connected with Avery somehow, I want to say like through Instagram or in Hamilton, which is the athletics study area. And so then I came to their women in media club, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. And I thought what they were doing was so cool. But I'm like, okay, well, I'm an athlete. I do sports. I do photography, but I'll just come and hang out. And if they need help with camera stuff, I can do that. And then when I went there, it was honestly, I would say that is what sparked the rest of my career. And I tell them that all the time. I don't think they believe me, but it's true because it was all females, all of us there, hence women in media talking about sports. And I knew I wanted to be a part of it. I knew that I'm not a much in front of the camera girl, but it just kind of stemmed like, okay, maybe I could do something with sports. I want to be a part of this. And at the time I was thinking maybe I could run some shows, or maybe I could be behind the scenes of, I don't know, something involving sports. Cause I just thought what they're doing was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought they were the coolest people ever. I'm not even kidding. I thought Avery and Anna were the coolest people ever. And so from there, I was doing some kind of sports things for Omaha Sports Commission, which ended up, we can get there later, the Olympic swim trials. From there, we literally did everything together.
Yeah.
I was there at all the shows. We worked Omaha Sports Commission events together. And that was my senior year that completely switched like my mindset of photography and sports. Once my sport ended, that's going to be really sad. Like I'll keep doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'll work at a marketing agency, stay connected in sports. But I wish I could be on a show like Anna and Avery. Like that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
And Avery said something along the lines of like, why don't you shoot some games here? And I'm like, well, I can't, like I have practice, like I don't have time. She's like, well, your season's going to end. Like, why don't you do some baseball games? I don't know. That just wasn't, I was never thinking that because I was so hyper-focused on my sport. I think we all were, but they kind of starting that Women in Media Club, it gave an opportunity to think, oh, that would be an awesome career, or not just a career, but like something to be interested in. Absolutely. And then we didn't have that before. That all 3 years leading up to that, I didn't have that at all. We had classes together, but it wasn't like we were talking about sports. And so
Women in Media was a club that they started because of COVID. Honestly, Anna and Avery are both broadcast focused, and so they wanted to be in front of the camera, and they were just starting to do some announcing at games, and COVID happened, and the next thing you know, everyone's shut down, all sports, so they have nothing to do. So they started this Women in Media Club so they could have something to do, and they started creating these shows, and it was the way to fill space, but also keep building experience at the same time. And so then it became a thing, and you girls ended up killing it for the year you guys had. I think in the podcast, we talked about this with Avery, that like Laura Rutledge came on and Mina Kimes came on. It was so amazing. They did these Zoom calls with the group once a month. It was just awesome. I'm so glad that you decided to join that and be a part of that, because I have now seen, we're going to get all the things you've done since then, but it's just amazing. And this is the theme of your life, is this saying yes to things. And we'll get into that in a second, but I want to get into the sports aspect. So you were a swimmer, right, at UNO. Tell me about starting out, because I think there's something about athletes. I'm partial to them because I feel like they're my whole family. And so I know that world. Tell me about starting out and what got you into swimming. What was life like as a young kid?
Yeah. I don't remember when I learned to swim. Like it was at such a young age. I have never remembered not swimming. I grew up an athlete, like all sports. So I played soccer my whole life, but swimming was just a natural talent. I was really young. I did the country club swim team, and I thought it was awesome. And I was a small kid. I hadn't hit my growth spurt yet, and they wanted me to try butterfly. And I think my mom was like, I don't know if she can do that. It was older kids at the country club, and I did it beautifully, which that's very outward of me to say, but I remember my mom being shocked that I could do it.
Yeah.
And I think I was maybe 7, 8 years old. And the country club team was maybe some 11, 12-year-olds, like older kids. I remember thinking they were huge.
Yeah.
And the coach, his name was Dave, said, we're going to try this. And so I started doing country club swim team, did all the relays. I also did the dive team. But from there, I told my parents, you should try to put her in club, which was really scary. Club swimming at the time, like that was a big, like I was not sure about that.
Yeah.
And I kind of loved it. So I started club swimming at a very young age. It was very, very intimidating, especially because in the summertime, club swimming, the pool is 50 meters, whereas a short course pool is 25. So I was immediately getting thrown into long course, which is scary because there's less stops. So it was very scary, but I saw it as a huge challenge and I loved it. And my parents knew nothing about swimming. They did not grow up with swimming. That both my parents are from smaller towns, like did not have high school pools. And so it was, I think, just a big learning experience, but my parents are the best people in the world. And we're like, we're going to help her and let her do what she wants to do.
Yeah.
So I kept doing soccer, basketball, gymnastics. Loved that, but got hurt. Didn't really ever want to go back swimming. It never went away. And they would drive me all over the place for meets and practices. And before I knew it, I was an 8th grader and I was deciding where I wanted to go to high school. So I chose the high school because of swimming. And we did win state our freshman year. I was swimming with like some of the best athletes in the state who went on to swim at NC State, Cal Berkeley, KU, just huge schools. So we were a powerhouse high school swim team. And then I committed to USD.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this is another part of the story. It kind of like the say yes, as you were saying, how I've lived my entire life. It was like, okay, I want to go to a new state. I want to leave home. I want to go experience this. I went on the visit with my dad. Loved it. I thought it was awesome.
And for people that don't know, USD is South Dakota, right?
Yes, in South Dakota. So they're in the same conference as UNO. And the offer was good. Like, it's close enough to home. If you want to get home, let's just do it. Well, then I started to think more about being in South Dakota. I don't know if I want to do that. So not too many weeks before I signed, I decommitted and called the UNO back and said, is the offer still available? I want to come to UNO. Which, I don't know if this would be a good intro, but I also was having a lot of health issues at the time. So I think my parents were worried about me going to a new state and having new doctors and being on my own. So being in Omaha at the time where all my doctors were, it just felt like a perfect fit. I spent some time at Children's Hospital in high school, and UNO hockey players actually came to my hospital room with a signed stick.
Shut up. That's crazy. What?
And I remember I was about to get discharged and my dad was in the hallway and he comes in, he's like, is it okay if they come in? Because they have to ask first.
Yeah.
I'm just so not in the mood. Yeah. I do not look good right now. Like, this is embarrassing. I don't want college boys coming into my hospital room. It was UNO hockey team with a signed stick. I still have it, and a puck.
No way.
And then I think later that year was when UNO swimming became on my radar. I decided against it, but then I ended up, there's so many weird full circle moments that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That is crazy. So yeah, let's tap into that health thing. So are you comfortable talking about like
Sure.
what it was, what happened,
Yeah.
what you've gone through with it, like how it impacted you as an athlete?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Around the time I got to high school, I was always doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And about 14, 15, I started to not look the same in the water. I always looked really tired. I think my parents thought like maybe I was burning out or I wasn't trying or just my times weren't as good. And about age 15, I started having more serious health issues. So I would have really bad stomach pain, extreme fatigue, fevers. The biggest turn was 4th of July. We always go to the country club and swim all day long.
Sure.
And my brother had left, my mom had left, my dad was probably golfing or something. And my mom woke me up in the morning. She's like, okay, we're going to go to the country club. We'll see you there. And I was like, yeah, I'm so tired. Like, I'll come later. And I just kept sleeping. And she came back and it was the middle of the day. I was still sleeping and I just could not get out of bed. All my friends are out and I should not be in my bed, obviously. And it's pushing like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Like, I cannot get out of bed. And we had all these in and out of the ER, just like extreme stomach pain. I just knew something was wrong. And that was like I think the big turning point where my mom was like, okay, we got to figure this out. This is not normal. So we ended up going to the ER. I think everything looked normal for the most part, but there was a couple things that were flagged. So then I ended up going to the Children's Hospital in Omaha. We drove that night. I remember seeing fireworks out the window. Like, I just remember it so distinctively. Something's wrong. Like, I should not be in the car driving to a children's hospital in Omaha. So I was there. I was admitted. I ended up getting an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. And they ended up finding that I have ulcerative colitis, which is similar to Crohn's disease. Crohn's seems to be more popular, so I say it's just like Crohn's. And the next step was like, what medications can we help manage this? Basically, help get our energy levels back up. Because when you think about how hard my body's working in the inside, makes me so tired on the outside. So it's not like I'm necessarily in pain all the time, but there's so many things going on with my stomach and my body that they're working harder than a normal person, that it's just like every day waking up, even to this day, is 10 times harder. Swimming, I just remember telling my mom, like, this is so hard. Like, it didn't used to be this hard. And we thought, like, okay, you're getting older. The competition's getting harder. But looking back, I don't know how I was doing it. We ended up trying some new medication and it was a fail. So I failed that. That wasn't helping. So it's kind of like tiers. So the highest tier is an infusion that once you start infusions, you're on them for life, basically. So it helps reduce inflammation in your body. It's technically an immunosuppressant drug. Technically, what I have is an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Which made COVID a whole added ass.
Oh, I bet.
But it was a lot of trips to Omaha, which I also think the full circle moments of things, like the amount of times I spent on Dodge in college was less than the amount of times I spent on Dodge in high school.
Yeah.
Dodge Street is in Omaha, for those that don't know.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, basically, I failed so many medications. The whole goal was to not have to get to the infusions because I'm young. I'm in high school. I don't want to be getting infusions. That's a big step. They were really pushing it because they thought, like, this is going to get out of control. If we don't get it under control now, clearly she's not doing great. My swimming was not great. And my teammates didn't really know. So it looked like to a lot of people, like, she's burnt out. She's not really trying.
Sure.
She's missing a lot of things. She's always gone because I was going to Omaha for doctor's appointments. I was missing a lot of class. And it has an effect on your social life and your mental health too, because you're a young girl. And I was put on steroids, so my face was puffing up, my hair was falling out. Like there was so many things. And so finally, I graduated high school. I ended up staying in Omaha, closer to my doctors. And my freshman year of college was really rough. I swam terribly. Like it was not good. And it was also so embarrassing. Like I was this new freshman and they had recruited me. And I think they were kind of confused. And you can't just stand up and be like, hey, everyone, this is what's going on with me. This is why I'm not swimming well. It wasn't something that I felt like I should, share with everyone. So I ended up, now I'm on infusion. So that right after my freshman year, going into my sophomore year, they decided all the oral medications I was taking, it wasn't enough. I tried paleo, I tried different diets, I tried everything, and just the inflammation in my body was not going down. So since 2019, I've been on the same infusion. I go in every 8 weeks, just through an IV. And it's helped a ton. By the end of my senior year, I was back to where I was in high school, swimming-wise, like time-wise, strength-wise. And I give my coaches a lot of credit because they could have easily cut me and said, this is not working.
Yeah.
But they knew about my health issues. I sat down with them. I talked to them a lot. They worked with me. And almost makes me emotional. I have a picture hugging my coach after my last race, my senior year, going to best time, which I never thought would have happened. And she just, I think, saw something in me, like, we're going to figure it out. Like, we'll get through it kind of thing. So Omaha is a very special place to me. It's been a crazy past, I don't know how many years. Yeah. So
life lessons for you. You have a variety of lessons not just because of the sport, because of this health issue that you went through as well. Like, you have so much to look back on and pull from both things. So is there anything new on the horizon for what you're dealing with, like as far as new treatments or just technologies or studies that they've been able to do something different, or is it strictly infusions and that's where you're at right now? Yeah.
So now there's basically an identical medication to what I'm on currently. That's an infusion that you take orally. I think it's 2 to 3 times a day you have to take it. However, it's orally and you wouldn't have to get the infusions. There's also the current infusion medication that I'm on might be going to a shot to where I could have it in my fridge and do the shot myself.
Got it.
Which is a little scary, but also I have to drive every 8 weeks back home to get the infusion. And I don't know if I necessarily ever see myself living in Nebraska again, but I love my doctor. He's amazing. I don't want a new doctor, but that could be something to where no matter where I go, I can have that medication. It's not like I have to travel home. Because that's, I think, probably the hardest part. Sitting there getting the infusion, it's not the end of the world. It makes me really fatigued afterwards. Like, I just don't feel real well, kind of like flu-like symptoms a little bit. So there's like different tiers of biologics. The highest one has a lot of really bad side effects. The one I'm on, thankfully, the side effects are minimal as far as like just like being a woman. It is targeted to just my gut rather than affecting my whole body.
Sure.
And so the progress now is there's more medication options like that. So when I started infusions, there was one that was gut focused. The other ones, how technically it works. When it goes into the IV, it literally is head to toe, affects your body. The one I'm on can just somehow, I don't know how, target my stomach, my gut. So now there's a lot more like that, which is huge for people, females like me, probably at 15, 16. So that's about the age that the symptoms really start to pop up.
Sure.
With females, and UC is like about 15. So we'll see how it evolves as I get older. I'll always probably have to be on some type of infusion or shot, but there's options for, let's say, the medication that I'm on could eventually turn into a pill, or I could switch to something that's almost identical. I think stress does not help. Stress is a really big trigger.
Sure.
And now I live on my own, and I moved to a new city, and I started a new job. So there's a lot of transitions and a lot of new things. Fatigue is still something I deal with every day. I'm a coffee addict, Red Bull addict, and that's not great for me or my stomach, but I cannot get through the day without some sort of caffeine, which is not awesome. But so anyway, that's kind of, I guess,
where that all came from. Mm-hmm. So as far as your health, is there anything that you found that you've added in on your own that has helped with fatigue? That's one thing. I understand that. But like anything else to deal with the stress, is there anything that you're incorporating to try and help with the stress?
So I think having been an athlete and that career ending, trying to find something like workout wise that motivates me was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I've always been told, here's what you do. So having that freedom of like, do whatever you want. I don't know. Like I would, I think Avery and I were talking about this the other day. If I could just have my UNO weights card with me every day, like that's literally what I would do. Because my whole life, like for the past 4 years, like that's what I did.
I know.
So going into a gym by yourself, you're kind of like, well, so what I ended up finding was kickboxing. And it took me like 2 years post graduating. I have not swam at all. Not a lap, not literally a stroke of swimming. I don't know why. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
It's just, I know I'll never feel the same in the water because your swim shape is the hardest shape to be in. But kickboxing, I think, has been this magical helping with stress. It's super empowering. And there's a studio 4 minutes from my apartment, so I can walk there. And it's awesome. And the people there are so uplifting. I do a lot of journaling. Journaling helps because I think with health issues, especially, you can really get in your own head about things, kind of like a why me attitude, which isn't fair because there's a lot of people that deal with a lot of things probably a lot worse than I do. So I think writing them down or at least allowing myself to organize my thoughts helps, and then go to kickboxing and then they're all gone at the end.
It settles everything down.
Yeah.
But just getting out whatever is stressing you out. Yeah. Oh, good for you. I'm glad you've got something that helps you with all that. There's another part of your story though that you haven't even tapped into is starting the photography stuff that you did, because here you are swimming as a competitive swimmer. You're going through these health issues and you start taking pictures. So tell me about how the photography thing got started in the first place. Like, where did this passion come from? Tell us that origin story.
Yeah. My brother was a baseball player.
Okay.
Football player, basketball. My dad, having been a previous athlete, was the coach, as I'm sure that was your guys' dynamic.
Yes.
And he had bought us a sports camera to take photos of my swim meets and my brother's games. He kind of wanted to coach. They needed help coaching. So he became the coach. So then we had the sports camera and me and my mom in the bleachers. And I'm at the games, all the games. And I just started messing with it. And I thought it was so awesome. And I had these, looking back, they were not that cool. But I thought they were awesome photos of my brother. And he loved them. He put them on his little Instagram or his lock screen. And then the other moms would say, oh, can you get number 13? Like just one for our wall? I'm like, yeah.
Sure.
So I would do that. As I grew older, I was in high school. I did high school yearbook. And I would do photos of games. Like that's how it kind of started. Then it kind of fell off. So how it transitioned a little bit was one of my really good friends in high school wanted me to take her senior photos. She knew that I had a camera. I was like pretty creative minded. I would always pose them for Instagram photos. Be like, no, do this, whatever. And so I think she knew I could do it. She didn't want to pay for them. She's like, I just want I want you to do them. And it was really fun. I made an Instagram and posted them. And a couple other people asked me, and I still had my brother's baseball family. Can you do our family photos? Or can you, really quick, can you come take a photo of me with my sister for her 50th birthday party? Just like random things.
Yeah.
But I would do it. And I still was using my dad's camera at the time that I don't know what year he bought it.
Oh my gosh.
And all those things are kind of happening as I'm doing high school yearbook. So at our high school, probably most high schools, you submit a senior photo to the yearbook. And there was a lot of kids that didn't turn in photos, whether they couldn't afford yearbook photos, they didn't want them, they didn't really care enough. So my yearbook teacher went through a list and listed out all the kids that didn't submit them. She's like, what do you think if we go pull them out of class and you use your camera and you take a couple of photos of them? They don't have to use their high school ID photo. So I'm like, yeah, like that would be awesome. So I did that. And I had completely forgotten about this story actually until last week. I was with some of my high school friends and we were looking through the yearbook and they were like, didn't you take that? And it all came back to me. I had completely forgotten about that story. But every day in that class, I would leave the class. I would go get the student. We'd go outside or go to the steps or like somewhere in the high school and I would take a couple photos of them. So everyone that year had a photo. And I loved taking pictures of faces and making someone feel good about themselves. I think having a picture of yourself that you like there's nothing more empowering or make you feel better than you have a photo and you like it of yourself. And it kind of became obsessed with it. So I really started pushing the Instagram, asked all my friends to take their pictures, and it just started building from there. So the following started to build. I built a website on my own. I opened a senior application the year after I graduated. So students that were a year below me applied through my website. So I would take their photos and I was a freshman in college. I knew what I was doing enough, but not really. And there were families that I knew. I wasn't very expensive, obviously. And I just kept shooting. I just kept doing it. And it was my main source of income all through college. That was my job. That's how I paid for things. I started shooting weddings. Not long after that, probably 2018 was my first wedding as a freshman, sophomore in college. And I just became obsessed with it. It was my creative outlet. I've always been so sports minded and that was my creative outlet. I loved it. I still do. That's still what I'm doing for the most part.
So when did you switch from the sports camera, the dad camera, to the one you started taking pictures with?
Yeah.
How did you know what to get? Where did you even go for that?
So I had my own senior photos taken by a photographer. My mom had reached out to him after the photos and said she's really interested in photography. What would be a good starting camera? So really big credit to my mom. They purchased a camera for me because they're very expensive. And I did not have the money to do that. And they saw that it was something that I enjoyed. And I got the camera and it was amazing. It was so crisp and clear and so high quality that I wanted to use it every single day.
Yeah.
So that was a huge bigger moment.
Like a turning point for you because it was all of a sudden you could see what was possible. Oh wait, hold on, there's so much more I can do here. You had a little glimpse of the future with that, which is cool.
Yes. Yeah.
And now I see you walk around with this monster camera and the stand and the whole thing. Oh my God, how do you go from that to that? It's insane what you've learned. And this is literally within 5 years. And I want to tell you that when you were in college and I just learned of you, I had found your Instagram and I was looking at your photos. I'm like, oh my God, this girl, she's an athlete. She's in these classes and then she's doing this on the side. And these pictures are phenomenal. I was just blown away. I just can't believe that you went from I had to take a picture of my brother to, oh my gosh, this is something that I love to do. And how cool is it that your book teacher saw this as an opportunity? Let's help these kids out. And it was that little moment where you're all right, this feels good. And I think that's the biggest thing is you realized how that felt and you wanted more of it. And it's you had a breadcrumb and you followed the breadcrumb. And I love that because I think that's what sometimes people don't allow themselves because it says, does it fit a plan? It wasn't in the cards. It's something that I don't know anything about. But those breadcrumbs, they're there for a reason. It's curiosity. You're curious about it. And it's something that's sparking something new. I think that's the biggest thing is just follow that because it's led you to where you're at now. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But here we are back to you were doing weddings. Again, you're a college student and you're doing weddings. This is insane. They're probably who is this young girl? Shouldn't she be in the wedding? Why is she taking the pictures?
Yeah.
That's insane. So that became a whole thing. And then the sports came along and you're doing the sports photography. And let's get into, I know you mentioned this earlier. You went to the swim trials. You were hired by the Omaha Sports Commission. Tell me about that experience, because I know this is really impactful for you. Swimming trials were in Omaha. It was a huge attraction for the Omaha community. Tell me what it did for you. I think this is super important.
Yeah. So I had just graduated, just ended my own swimming career. And the Olympic swim trials, which I had attended 2 times previously in Omaha. They had been in Omaha since I was 13 years old. So I had attended them and it was amazing. And now it was landing on right after I graduated. And the Omaha Sports Commission, who we were all working for a little bit here and there in college, hosted the event. So I had this insane opportunity to be the photographer for the Omaha Sports Commission and have all this access for people making the Olympic team. And I will never forget it. It was like a dream come true. Like these athletes that I have literally grown up idolizing with posters on my wall, looking at every single day, are in front of me and I'm taking their picture. And I was definitely not qualified. I will say that. There was a lot of photographers there.
Sid, I saw your pictures though, sister, and they were so freaking good, clearly.
Well,
so let's keep going.
Thank you. I just remember thinking like, oh boy, these people with these big lenses working for USA Swimming. Here I am. I just graduated college. I'm renting this equipment from the local camera store.
Got it.
Because sports lenses are different than portrait lenses.
Yeah.
Way different.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was doing enough. I was figuring it out as I was going. But a really, really big moment was Nathan Adrian had kind of been battling cancer off and on. He had some health issues and he was going to try one more time to make the Olympic team. He fell short. It was heartbreaking for a lot of his fans. I always loved him growing up. And he was hugging Caleb Dressel, who's another huge Olympic male swimmer. And I was right there and I took the photo. And it ended up being the photo that he used to his farewell to swimming and tagged my photography account.
Yeah.
Which there's so many photographers there. And he asked the Omaha Sports Commission for the photo because they had posted it and he had seen it. So he wanted the photo. I just could not believe it. Having my own health issues, seeing this comeback, it was amazing for him to even come. He has a really cool story. And the end of his swim career that I had watched for years, I watched the hug, him walking off, never coming back to the pool, and I captured the moment. And that was like, okay, I want to do this every day of my life. Like there's so much more to sports, which I've always realized, but not really. Like you get the action shots. It's awesome. It's really exciting. Sports are amazing. But there's so many things that go on behind the scenes. And I don't know why it never clicked for me because there was so much for me that went on behind the scenes that nobody knew about. And it just clicked. In the moment, I just realized like, okay, there's so many stories to be told in sports. They're people and they've had these crazy opportunities to become professional athletes living out their dreams. And how lucky am I to be able to be there also living my dream, capturing their dreams. And that was the moment. I love photographing people. I still want to keep doing that. I'm still to this day shooting weddings and high school seniors and lifestyle. But that was I'm going to do whatever it takes to get into sports and get my foot in the door. I think Anna, Avery, and I would all say that was probably a huge turning point in all of our sports careers, media careers. It was crazy. It was a crazy experience.
The pictures I saw of that, it was insane. And the people that you saw walking past you, here's Michael Phelps walking by, and you had the announcers and the broadcasters, and they were saying hi to you guys. So they see you every day, and they were like, hi. Just to be in that environment, just realizing, wow, to be a part of this was such a huge thing for all of you. That was so cool to see. And the things that you captured and the hug, you had captured Michael Phelps, a hug with somebody in front of that. There was like a big drum of some sort. What was that?
Yes. The drum was what everyone signed the drum when they made the team.
Yeah.
There was another athlete, and I really should know the story because that was also a big moment, who I believe had just made the team. And they were very close and they trained together for a while. And she, I believe, had missed the Olympic team the previous Olympics.
Everyone knows who Michael Phelps is. When here you guys are watching him within 10 feet of you practically and taking this picture. Just what a cool freaking experience. And just think you had to be in Omaha to get that. Because if you had gone to USD, these things maybe not have happened the way that they did. And then I think that's important that the full circle story is you were in the hospital and the UNO hockey players. We're going to come to your room. You end up dating a hockey player,
Yes.
and now you've been dating for how long? 3-4 years now, probably almost 4.
5
years.
Yeah.
So you end up dating a hockey player. It's funny that became
Yeah.
a big part of your life without realizing back in high school that
Yeah.
that was so crazy.
I think also he might have been there because I have a photo of the players and me. And I think this was not the first time I was in the hospital. It was a few years later, I want to say.
Yeah.
But one of the players in the photo was a freshman, Mason's freshman year.
Mm.
So Mason and I are 3 years apart.
Okay.
So he could have been in the next room signing autographs.
That's
Is
so
that just not the weirdest thing?
So crazy.
Yeah.
I love that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So you do the sports commission stuff, the swim trials, and then what happens next for you? So then you're like, what's my next thing? You've graduated. What happens next for you?
So I stayed in Omaha 1 year post grad. So that was like that after that summer of the trials, I kept working with the Omaha Sports Commission. I shot whatever they needed me to, like BMX bike things, a marathon, the Olympic curling trials, which at first I was like, curling, that was interesting, but it was cool. It was an Olympic trial event. The athletes were awesome. It was like more lifestyle. They had really cool shoes. They were super fun to talk to. Like, I love curling now. It was awesome. And I just kept trying to shoot things. So I did NAIA basketball, some volleyball, just whatever I could do while still shooting wedding seniors, kind of running my photography business is what I was doing full time. I was applying anywhere and everywhere, any sports internships, photography internships, media, social media internships, marketing internships, anything.
Yep.
I was getting a lot of no's.
And you applied to, I remember the Chicago Bears, right? Mm-hmm. You went out there for an interview, had gotten to that level, so had gone out there. So you were at a high stakes situation.
Yeah, like that one, I thought was going to be the one because I had made it past a few rounds.
Yeah.
Did not end up being the one, but there was just a fire. I'm like, I got to figure it out. Like, I need to move. I want to do something.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking an internship with a marketing agency in Kansas City, but the internship's like quickly turned into a full-time job. You get introduced to the clients, you work for like a month, and then, okay, now you're going to be full-time. I'm like, okay, so that would be awesome. It's not sports. It's just a marketing agency working with local clients, but that was my degree. So you take photography completely out of the picture. Like, that's what I would be doing. And I was interested in it. I was intrigued. I thought, okay, let's go do that. I want to move to a new city. I'll freelance my photography business into a new city. I'll start shooting weddings here, high school seniors, families, and maybe I'll get into a Royals game or a Chiefs game. Like, that would be really cool if I could get into a game.
Yeah.
And this is just the weirdest part of the whole story. I had moved to Kansas City, which is where I am now. Within 3 weeks, I got an email from Major League Baseball. I had applied for a couple other things for them, but never that position. So I knew that it wasn't like a decline or an offer because I had never applied for anything or even recently to Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
It was more so for specific teams. And so I thought it was spam. I'm like, oh, that's not a funny joke. Because at first it popped up, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, whatever. But then I looked up who the email was from and it was a real person.
Yeah.
And so I immediately replied, and what had happened was there was a position that had opened up. This was end of May, so the baseball season had already been going for a couple months. They needed to fill the position quickly. I don't know how they found me, other than I know that there's a local photographer that may have given them my name or mentioned my name, like this is a new photographer that does some sports. She's in Kansas City now. Or I was also doing some work for the Omaha Storm Chasers while I was an Omaha year post-grad. That's the Royals AAA affiliate. So either they saw some of my photos of some of the players that had recently been called up. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I did the interview. I did a couple interviews with the head of MLB live content. I got the job and now I have a full-time marketing job and they were great. And now I have this other opportunity and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to do them both.
Yeah.
And I was doing weddings and seniors at the time. So I basically had 3 full-time jobs and I shot the whole season for baseball, which ended up leading to more things.
So you were hired to do the visitor dugout, right?
There's a program in actually all professional sports like NHL, NFL, NBA, MLB that it's an LCC. It's a live content creator is what it is. So I'm at all the home games photographing the away team. So there's always an in-house photographer for the away team. However, I still will cover the home team. They'll ask me for things. I help them, but they already have their full photo staff, so they don't necessarily need me, but I'm an extra person from a different angle. So some of my stuff is still posted for the Royals, but primarily whoever the Royals are playing, anything that's going up on social media, whether it's video, photo, anything, any of their graphics, the series that they're in Kansas City is all my photos or videos.
And then not only is it MLB, then the Chiefs come a knocking. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think back and talk this all out because this past year has been so crazy. Right when I had moved to Kansas City, like a week before I had actually moved into the apartment, there was a Chiefs photo summit, which was not that big of a deal. You could go, you could listen to the media team, social media team, the media communications, what it's like to be at the Chiefs. Everyone was there. There's a lot of photographers there. You had to be invited, but you would apply and then you would get the invite. Like it wasn't anything crazy, but I just thought that would be cool to go to. Like maybe I'll learn something. They talked about how their social media worked, their process. It was a cool event. And at the end of it, I walked up to the Chiefs photographer and introduced myself because I'm like, I'm not going to not take a chance here. And he remembered me because I applied for his internship and he told me no. And he said, I remember you. Your stuff is great. This is what he said. I remember you. Your stuff is great. I just figured you'd be too busy. That's what he said. And now he's who I work for and he's awesome. And I said, I'm in Kansas City now. Let me know if you ever need help with anything. I'm here. Just let me know. Love to come to a game. I just thought maybe a game would be great. Whatever. This was also before the MLB thing ever happened. I moved here. The MLB thing happened. It was amazing. I reached out to him and I said, hey, I'm working for MLB now. Would love to still come for something in football season. Didn't hear from him for months. Like from May to September, had not heard anything from him. I just thought, oh, that was really cool that he remembered me. Felt super honored. Great guy. Learned a lot from the event. And then I got a text or an email saying, hey, can you give me a call? And I was like, yes, I can do that.
Yes, I can do that.
And he said, can you give me a call? He said, are you okay to do an event with some bigger names that are going to be there? How are you with that? Maybe some influencers. I need your help with this. Is that something you're comfortable with? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, it's next week. And he gave me all the details. It was the 50th anniversary of Arrowhead Stadium. House of Heat was the name of the event. And it wasn't open to the public at all. They've had people flying in. There was Anderson .Paak was there. He's a bigger artist, musician. So I did the event. I got there. I was so nervous. But I was working a full-time job, so I had to take off work to go to the event. Yeah, so I literally left work, changed in my car, went straight to the event, worked until like 10, 11. And like halfway through the event, he was like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? So the event was the day before the first game of the season. I believe it was the Chargers last year. So I was like, nothing. And I said, well, I actually have to work. Like, what's up? He's like, well, you should come shoot the game. I think he saw what I was doing. He's like, okay, she knows what she's doing. Liked me enough. So I'm like, well, I have to work. Like, I don't know if I can make that work. I just took off work to be here today. Like, I'm not really sure I can do it again. I'm juggling 3 things right now. He's like, okay, well, just let me know. I'll have a credential parking pass for you. It'll be left at this gate that he told me, which I had no idea where it was. Yeah. He's like, just come after work, but also keep in mind when I'm off of work, I'm battling traffic to get there. So I worked the full day. I changed my car again. I had all my camera equipment. I went straight to the game, battling traffic. I don't know which gate I'm going to. I carry my roller suitcase around the entire stadium trying to find the gate.
Shut up. That's a major feat in itself.
So that has all my sports equipment in it and it's very heavy and I have a backpack on. I brought everything. I don't know what I'm going to need. And I got about an hour, but still, you're normally there 4 or 5 hours before. Like me coming an hour before the game no one does that. Yeah. It's impossible to get through fans. It was crazy. So I finally get my credential. I still don't know where I'm going. I now don't have time to go drop off my suitcase and backpack in the photography room. And he wanted an aerial shot of the stadium at the highest point of the stadium. Yeah. Because there's fireworks that go off and everyone was probably on the field or doing other things. He's like, if you could get that, he kind of gave me a shot list of some things that he would love to have. So I carried my suitcase up the entire, like the highest point in the stadium through fans with a backpack on as well. Yes. I got the shot. It was average. It wasn't that great. Like I kind of missed part of the fireworks. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, well, I'm never going to be asked back again. Like that was just not ideal. I went after the game. I thanked him He thanked me again for the help with the event the night before. I couldn't believe I was there. It was crazy. And I guess the intro to getting asked back a few more games last season. As you know, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, ended up being a wild season. They won the AFC Championship. I was at the AFC Championship.
Yep.
When he needed help, he would let me know, like, hey, can you come? One of the games was on Christmas Eve, but there was a snowstorm, so I couldn't go home. Yeah. So I stayed by myself in my apartment that whole week, which I had off from work, so I was planning to be home that whole week with family. I decided to stay because there was a snowstorm. I got dinner with Avery, actually, because she was back, and she's like, well, if you need something, like, let me know. Like, I can try to give you some food or something. So I walked in the snow to a grocery store that was open just to be there for the game. It was the Seahawks. I just needed to be there. That's literally me just being crazy. Like, I can't miss a game. I'm going to do it. So I did it. But I think saying yes and being there and doing well and getting the photos that they needed is I got asked back again to the AFC Championship. So it was one more game then, and that was the Bengals. That was the AFC Championship. It was freezing cold. It was crazy. The confetti everywhere. I will never forget. Yep. They go to the Super Bowl. And so now this season, I'm more full-time with them, but seasonally, so it's a full-time job for the season. I'll be at all the home games, maybe some away games. We will see. It's kind of a newer position that they're putting me in. I'm going to be more with the owners. I'm doing a lot of their pregame photos that they need. So whoever they have to meet and talk to, shake hands with, a lot of high name people. The NFL commissioner was there. First home game. That was crazy.
Well, how did that happen? So how did you go from just taking photos of the team and whatever to becoming now the Hunt family, personal photographer, basically? This is what it basically has come down to.
Because of my lifestyle portrait work background, the Chiefs photographer who normally would get their photos pregame, so he'd be running, doing all the warm-up stuff. Then they would need a photo. He'd be running back and forth. And he kind of decided, I don't have time to do that. I need to put someone in that role. And I think he saw me for that role because I had some portrait background, not just action shots. I know how to pose people. Like, it's just like a wedding classic photo. Like, you get people together. Everyone needs to be seen. That's what a lot of it is. And I was like, well, I still want to do game action. Like, I want to be there telling the stories of athletes. And I still think I'm going to be able to do that as the season progresses. But this just kind of came like, this is what we need. So I said, yes, I'll do it. Whatever you need me to be there for, I'll do. It definitely wasn't something that I was going to turn down. But it has allowed him to step away a little bit so that he can get the other things he needs to get done. Because in sports, there's so many other things, like all the sponsorship. So if there's an ad that comes up on the board, a really scenic shot of the fans cheering where you can see the ad to document that the ad was put up. Like, there's so many things that go on games that have to be photographed that aren't just the touchdowns. It's crazy. And so that's one less thing for him to have to worry about. And I think he trusted me in that position, which is a lot of pressure. It's crazy. They're great. It's awesome. I get to be down on the field. I see Patrick Mahomes runs right by me right before he does his like little pregame ritual. Yeah. Because we stand in the same spot. And it just makes me think, like, holy cow. Like, this is just, it's just crazy.
Like 5 years ago, this would never have been anything on your radar.
No.
But because you said yes and you followed the breadcrumbs and you paid attention to what lit you up, what felt like, oh, I want more of this. That's where you're at. It's been so crazy because I watch you go through this through the lens of my daughter and just through your Instagram account. I've obviously gotten to know you over the years, but just how far you've grown as a photographer in such a short amount of time. I don't think I would have known that you rented a camera for the Omaha Sports Commission. I thought that was something that with all the stuff that you do, that this was just natural for you. But you didn't let that, like, I don't have a camera for that. Well, I'm going to go find a camera for that. I want to be a part of this. And you didn't let limitations or obstacles keep you from doing something that was lighting you up. And I just love this. And I know that there's so many things. Like, I think back hearing, oh my gosh, Sydney's at the game. She had to take her whole suitcase all the way to the top. And I'm hearing it from Avery's standpoint. And so she's watching this whole thing as well. And so I've heard a lot of these stories ahead of time because of her being a part of your life. But I am just absolutely so thrilled for you. How old are you? 25?
24.
Well, you're 24 years old, even younger than I thought. And here you are. The other question I want to ask you about, though, is, okay, so you're 24 and you're a female and you are in a role that people have maybe taken years to get into. What's been the vibe towards you? What's been the feedback, the energy that's been cast your way as you're there? Has it been welcoming? Have you had some struggles? Tell me about that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Oh, it's hard because I've had great experiences and maybe some not so great ones. At the Royal Stadium, there's an amazing female photographer who was, I think, the one that maybe had passed my name along in the way beginning, who, crazy, also has ulcerative colitis and
No way.
also has to get infusions, and we're on the same infusion, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Just how, like,
Yeah.
of course.
Yep.
And she's amazing and has helped me and guided me along the way. And we're next to each other a lot in the photo while there. And I've just learned so much from her. Everyone there is great, super welcoming. Everyone at the Chiefs, great, super welcoming as far as photography people. I think where things get a little interesting is fans, because they paid so much for this super close ticket and it's right behind you. And they don't know why you're down there.
You've had some heckling, I take it?
Yeah. Yeah. They are just shocked that there's a girl down there.
Oh.
And we'll say that sometimes.
Even with a camera in your hand and you're taking photos, but it's still not enough.
I think fans are fans and they're yelling at athletes. You see how crazy fans are when they're yelling at athletes. Yeah. Now I'm right there. So it happens to me too sometimes.
Yeah.
I also get some interesting messages from people that are maybe photographers, maybe not, from some younger girls. Awesome, amazing. I'm always happy to give any knowledge. Like, there's so much more I want to do and so much I need to learn, but I'm always willing to give advice. However, some of the messages I get are maybe shocked that I'm there, or like, are you qualified for that job? I've had that one a couple times. And those aren't normally coming from the girls.
Of course.
Some sports fans, some people that I knew growing up, went to high school with, are, I think, maybe a little bit shocked that I'm in this position that I'm in to be able to photograph some athletes. That I get some interesting messages like, how did you even end up there? I never knew you even liked sports photography. Like, do you even like sports? How do you even know enough about baseball? Worded maybe a little bit differently, but
sure. As
far as the people that I've been able to meet along the way have all been really great.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, though, maybe a little iffy. Some of the older photographers are kind of like, okay, who's this young girl that's here? Yeah. She's a new girl. Maybe give me a hard time. But I think as now that I've worked with them, it's my second season with MLB. I think they've seen my work. They know that I know what I'm doing. I can also talk sports very well. And so when you are able to have knowledge of something, I think you get a lot more respect for it. I have a lot of interesting experiences, a lot of good ones. It's just it's a place I never thought I would be. So it's kind of hard to navigate how to answer things. Absolutely. And how to interact with people or fans, or like the game that I was carrying all my stuff and walking up there. Like, do you need help with that? Which is like, okay, like, I know that I'm carrying a suitcase upstairs. I should not be doing this. However, just leave me alone. Like, I don't know.
Trying to work here.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's not only that you're young, now you're a female and doing it. There's two things. Not saying counting against you, but you have to do so much more proving.
Yep.
Which that sucks, you know?
Oh yeah.
It sucks, but also it probably drives you a little bit too. Like, hey, watch me. And I feel like that could be a motivator.
Yeah. Huge motivator. I think, like you said, me being younger and being a female, if I was younger and male, it might be different. If I was older and female, it might be different. But now that I got the both of them, it's like, what is she doing here? Who is that? And just by looking at me, well, that girl obviously doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know baseball. She doesn't know football, like things like that. But I think it makes me want to be there so much more, because I had a really cool moment a couple of games ago. A lot of foul balls get hit into the photo well, like a lot. Yeah. It's kind of scary. Yeah. And they bounce, and sometimes I'll catch them and I'll toss them back into the dugout, or toss them to the third base coach or whoever it is that needs the ball, or just put it next to my foot until the inning's over. Well, fans go crazy behind you. Oh, give me the ball, like screaming, photographer. Yeah. And so I had this one in my hand. Nobody was looking for me to toss it to. I turn around, because sometimes I'll toss them to a fan. And there was all these older men screaming. And there was a younger girl who was wearing a Royals jersey. And I just immediately saw her. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, for obviously this is 100% for you. And she was a little bit farther away. So I had to climb up and hand it to her. And I could just see it in her face. That was so cool. Yeah. We just like made eye contact, and it was cool for me.
That is awesome. I love that. I think Avery's had her moments like that too, where there's a little girl against the glass and she has a chat with her, and next thing you know, she's buddies. And it's like you see yourself in the stands. That's who you were 10, 15 years ago, and watching, and to have somebody be that for you and looking out for you, and you were able to become what you see out in the world, and maybe you were an inspiration to her being there, which is really flipping cool. Any other experiences? I mean, there's a huge experience that happened last week, if you want to talk about that. Last Sunday, you at the game?
Yeah.
Right?
I was like,
the only game that's going to matter in this whole year of the Chiefs. Let me back up for a quick second. We end up going to the Chiefs game. Avery says that Sid's going to be there taking pictures, and which is so funny because Avery had asked me before she came down, because Kip at last minute got tickets, and she asked me if I'm coming. If there's odd number, we'd always find tickets. And I'm like, no, you guys go. I'll let you guys get the tickets. So I'm going. I haven't been to a Chiefs game in years, like years. And so she asked me if I'm coming, and I gave her the Taylor Swift gif with thumbs up. And then here we come to the game, and Taylor Swift is at this game, and she's like, how weird that you gave me a Taylor Swift. I'm not really a Swiftie. I love her as a person.
How weird.
Yeah, I don't listen to her music at all. And that's what I sent to her. And then we find out that Taylor's at the game. And so we end up being in the section right in front of Travis's box. So crazy. But yeah, so tell me about your experience with it, because you're taking pictures and all of a sudden you're aware. Tell me like how you found out she was going to be at the game.
Yeah, I found out earlier than probably everyone else, because we all kind of had to be aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
Because there was a possibility that she was going to come to the suite that I was in. It's the most secure.
Yeah.
But I think everyone kind of thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Leading up to the game, right? So like what he was saying, what people were saying, it was kind of like, yeah. Everyone did. All media people did. All Chiefs people that I was around thought it was a joke. So then it was, no, she just landed. She's on her way here, like right now. You need to be aware. She's probably going to come here. Stay away from no photos until her agent gives you the okay. Like, I'm like getting all these things. And I'm like,
what? She like, hold on.
I'm like, I thought this was a joke. This cannot be happening.
Yeah.
And so she obviously, as everyone has seen, was in Travis Kelce's suite, which was right above you guys.
Yeah.
At the game.
Yeah.
And I did not officially meet her, but I had a very close interaction with her, and you're just kind of starstruck a little bit because I ended up rewatching the game, because I do this. Yeah. Most games that I'm in, I end up rewatching just because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who said it, but someone had said that this was the first time that Patrick Mahomes was not the most famous person in Arrowhead.
Yes.
And I'm like,
gosh, yes.
Yeah. Like, actually, Taylor Swift was there, and she's like probably one of the most famous people in the world. Like, everyone knows who she is.
Yeah.
That was just, I mean, I've met some other music artists and some people that have come through the suite and just in the past year with interactions, but that one was one where it was with everything that was going around it as well. My phone was just blowing up because everybody knows that I'm there.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy. It was a lot that went behind the scenes to get her up there.
Yeah, I bet.
There's so many working parts. It was an interesting game.
I bet. Well, God, we were watching the game, and then most people in our section were turned most of the time, turning around and like taking pictures of her and her reaction. So then I was like, okay, what's happening back there? And nothing. She's watching the game, but it just was in a way distracting, but it was like also surreal and crazy. And I can guarantee the seats in that section will no longer be the same price that they were.
No.
Because everyone's like, now that they know that's Travis Kelce's suite, and if she comes back, then they want to make sure that they're there. It's going to be insane. I can only imagine what the price of those tickets are. So we were the last ones to be in that section for that price, for sure. For sure.
Just crazy. I wish that it was one of those things where my assignment would have been to go take photos.
Yeah.
Not disappointing. But when you're that famous, there's rules for things and photos. So a lot of the photos that you're seeing are from photographers that were not like contracted. There's a lot of things that go into it, but it was so close. Like, I just wanted that photo.
Yeah.
But I mean, she wanted within the suite her privacy and
sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Any other crazy experiences and other people that you've met as your job?
A lot of the athletes that I'll talk to, like Jalen Hurts, I had a really cool conversation with him at the NFL 101 Awards. That was last spring that I got to do because it was hosted by the Super Bowl champions, which were the Chiefs.
Yep.
And he lost the Super Bowl, and he still showed up to Kansas City just a few weeks after literally losing the Super Bowl. And that was really cool.
Yep.
The whole place was Chiefs everything. And he was one of the only ones. He walked in and did his interviews. And so I don't remember what award he wanted, but I took a picture of him with the trophy, and he thanked me for my time, opened the door for me, walking out, just well-spoken. It says something along the lines of like, I really appreciate your time. I know this is a lot of work, or like something like that. And it's kind of like, oh, like that was nice. It does take a lot of time and it is a lot of work. And a lot of people just come take their picture and, walk out. So that was a cool experience. I probably shouldn't be a fan of his because I'm a Chiefs fan, but it was cool to just have like a quick conversation with him and feel like he appreciated my time.
I actually have a video of you because we went to the game a couple months ago. I don't know if it was a couple months ago, to the Royals game. And we were in the visitor dugout. They're called the dugout suites. It was a work event for my husband. And you were working. And I got to see you in action. And it was just so cool. And I have a video of you going out and the shots you were getting. And I'm so stinking proud of you. I'm like a mom from a distance, but I cannot tell you enough of how proud I am that you are doing something that's not easy. It's a very hard thing, but you are doing it because you love it and doing it because it is something that's speaking to you. And I think as a young person at 24 years old, to know something that you love and know exactly who you are and stand up for yourself and believe in yourself and believe of your worth at such a young age. Yeah. I wish I had an ounce of that when I was your age, and I didn't. I had no clue. And your guys' generation is, I think, so much more in tune with that. And I cannot wait to see where you guys go with this and, where you're headed, females in general, in this type of industry where there's typically more of a male dominance or even age. And you've got youth and the female aspect into it. And I'm so thrilled for you because this is something that you are so, so talented at. And someone's recognizing that. That's another thing. Someone's recognizing that and giving you a chance. So kudos to the people that have said yes to you as well. They are about to find out more of what you're capable of. And you're just getting started. So this is crazy. And I cannot wait for all the things you're going to be a part of and what you're doing. It's saying yes to the things and dealing with all the bullshit that comes with it, the comments, the DMs. I've heard it all from Avery too. The things people say to you that they would never say to a male counterpart. Right. It's just insane. And I just commend you for doing it and not letting that shit stop you, because that can be, for a lot of people, that can be the end of it. Like, I can't handle this anymore. I can't handle the comments. I can't handle those things. But you see what's down the road. You see where you want to go. And I just commend you for saying yes and all the wonderful things that are happening for you. I just couldn't happen to a better person. And I'm so glad that you're in Kansas City. You're so similar to Avery in the way that she lives her life and what she deems important. And I'm just so thrilled you guys are friends. And if you need anything, you know that we're here. So
you guys are the best. One more comment is all the way back to the beginning of women in media.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, and I tell them that, and I think, and I already said this, I think that they're like, yeah, whatever. You're like, you do your thing. We're not a part of it. But truly seeing two women that wanted to be in sports in front of me doing cool things and then pushing me to be like, you need to do this. You should do this. I mean, it was saying yes and has ultimately led me to where I am today. So very grateful for Anna and Avery, especially.
Oh, well, I think that they probably feel the same for you, because I feel like it takes a group sometimes to help you feel the confidence that you need to go forward in something, and having you guys be a part of each other's lives, I think it's a huge part of that. You need a little support because no one else gets it, or you need a little bit of a tough love. You all get it. You're there for each other, which I think is so, so important. I didn't think to ask you earlier is this, you mentioned the little girl in the stands. Avery's had that little girl in the stands watching. Any advice that you would give to a younger girl out there, whether it's regarding sports or following a passion or anything like that? What is something that maybe you wished you would have heard at a young age that you could maybe give to somebody that's maybe listening, or a parent that has a young daughter?
That's a hard question. I was really lucky because I had a male figure in my life, my dad, that believed in me so much, sports related, and taught me everything I know. And it was so normal. Like, girls know sports. Like, I was so proud of that. But as I got older, that wasn't always the case. Middle school boys, like, just things growing up. It was weird of me to love sports so much, wearing a jersey to school. I had an elementary school teacher once make a comment of the football player of the jersey that I was wearing. And it was my favorite team, and I knew everything about the quarterback. I was so lucky with having a dad like I do, that being a woman in sports, that was so normal. But the more exposure I had to the world and the more exposure I had to people in society, like, I realized that is not necessarily how it is. And I think coming from a female that has had hardships and other experiences, it started off that's so possible for me as a kid. Like I can do anything. Like I thought I was going to be a professional athlete. I'm like, yeah, I can do that because that's how at home I knew that I could do anything I put my mind to, especially in sports. But it's kind of everyone. That you have an innocent mind as you're a child, and as you are more exposed to the world, your thoughts change and your feelings about yourself change and your feelings about your career change. And then it's a lot of what ifs.
Yeah.
And I think that's just how it also is being a female. I don't think that males maybe necessarily have that same, as you grow older, your thoughts about yourself change, your thoughts about your abilities change. Am I good enough for that? I probably shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I think my advice would be you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think my life and my story has put that into perspective for me, showing up to places when I'm the only girl there, or like a lot of the photos you probably find on my mom's Facebook where it's me and a whole bunch of guys.
Yep.
I don't necessarily notice it anymore because I've worked so much on telling myself like I'm meant to be there. And so I think knowing yourself and knowing your craft and knowing like I'm meant to be here, I think that switch in mindset changed everything for me because it allows me to be confident. And when I'm confident, my photos are better, my work is better. When I'm anxious and doubting myself, then it's not good work coming from me. So fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I don't love that saying, but
Yeah.
kind of, if you show up, act like you're supposed to be there, people will take you seriously, but truly deep rooted believing that you're supposed to be there. I think connecting with other females in the industry has been huge for me. Absolutely huge. Having people in your corner. I think as a younger girl, seeing myself now would be really, really proud. I think my youngest self would be like, yeah, I knew you were going to do that. But my middle school and my high school self, my college self would not think that.
Yeah. And I wish we all had that childlike wonder and belief in ourselves and we could carry that through. But of course, society and social media these days, back probably when your parents and Kip and I were younger, we didn't have that. We had other things. We had teammates or we had coaches or teachers or things like in our life that would tell us, oh, you should quit. But to have it on a grander scale where people are sending you messages via social media, or it's a comparison game. Sometimes you can get out there and look at all the other photographers out there and you're like, who am I? So there's a lot of things that can cloud that. So I think that's really important just to keep tuning in to yourself and knowing exactly who you are. And like, you've got there for a reason and now you belong there. And I think that's a fantastic message. Like just believe in yourself and you'll eventually going to prove those people wrong.
Right.
So I always end with the same question is, what is one thing right now that is helping you feel odd, which is, again stands for awake, well, and empowered? What's one thing you're doing right now or experiencing or in your life that's making you feel that way?
My friends and seeing them, I think, as I've said a million times, Avery and Anna, who now I think by the end of this podcast, everyone is familiar with, seeing them and all of us together chase our dreams. I feel like in our 20s, Avery and I, we kind of have a thing. Like I made a TikTok once that was about being in your 20s and chasing these dreams. And we went to a farmer's market before Avery's surprise birthday party.
Yeah.
And there was a female with an old vintage typewriter typing poems. Like you stood in line, you went up, you told her like, this is the topic, you write us a poem. And she wrote us a poem. We told her we're two friends chasing our dreams in our 20s. We gave her like very minimal. We said we work in sports. That's it. And she wrote us this poem. It is just, we both cried. And it was the coolest thing because we're sharing these experiences together and apart. And it's just been so cool to watch them at volleyball, like in Memorial Stadium was the craziest thing. I could not be more proud of them. And I think just be able to chase your dreams with people that are like-minded as you and want the same things in life as you is just, it's awesome. I've just loved it. Like post-graduation, post-UNO, seeing us all. Avery always jokes like whenever I text her, guess what? Like it's always just like, she's like, I never know what it's going to be. And kind of same thing with her. Like when I see a story, like I never know what it's going to be. I know it's going to be something of her, like some interviewing someone saying amazing things. And I'm always retweeting all of it. But I think that would be my answer.
Yeah, I love that. It's so important to have people in your life that either are dreaming big because you're dreaming big and it helps just knowing someone gets it, knowing someone that understands the hard work and the passion and all the things that you've got going on and what it took to get there and where you want to go and have someone believe in you, but also they're doing their thing as well. So having somebody in your life to either root for them, but also knowing that they're rooting for
Mhm.
you just as hard. And that's that whole, hashtag women supporting women. You guys are
Mhm.
doing it. And it's just been so fun to watch. And you guys are inspiring me just as much how you inspire each other. So just know that I'm watching too, and you're helping
Yeah.
me pursue things because I'm watching these young women do it. And I've got some years of experience on me as far as life, just the saying yes to myself and being able to pursue something. You're never too late and you're never too young. Just because you're young doesn't mean you should pursue some big stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Just love
thank
it.
you.
Oh my gosh. Well,
This was awesome.
yeah. Thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you again for being here. I am so grateful for your time. And if you liked what you heard, please head to where you listen to podcasts, rate and reviews. Please share on Instagram, your social media channels, wherever else you go, so we can reach as many people as possible so they can meet these amazing women and hear these conversations. If you'd like to connect further, you can find me over at my website at HallieSawyer.com or on Instagram. I'm usually going to be at Hallie_Sawyer or The Odd Life, which is this podcast specific Instagram account. All right. Have a great day, everyone. And we'll see you soon.